Let me tell you about the day I accidentally convinced an entire office building that their Wi-Fi was possessed by the ghost of a disgruntled IT technician, and how this led to the most ridiculous exorcism of my career. Spoiler alert, the power of Christ did not, in fact, compel the router to work properly. It started on a Tuesday because of course it did. Tuesday is the universe's way of saying Monday was just the warm-up act. I'm Alex, and I work for a mid-sized IT consulting firm that specializes in what we euphemistically call legacy system rehabilitation, which is corporate speak for fixing the technological disasters that previous IT guys left behind like cursed artifacts. The call came from Meridian Marketing, a trendy advertising agency housed in a converted Victorian mansion downtown. You know, the type: exposed brick walls, Edison bulb fixtures, and enough succulents to start their own ecosystem. The kind of place where everyone drinks kombucha and refers to problems as growth opportunities. "Hi, this is Destiny from Meridian Marketing," came the breathless voice on the phone. "We're having some really weird issues with our Wi-Fi, and honestly, I think our building might be haunted. Now, I've been in IT for 8 years, and I've heard every excuse in the book. Dogs eating Ethernet cables, coffee spills that somehow migrate upward to ceiling-mounted access points, and one memorable incident involving a parrot that learned to mimic the Windows error sound. But this was a new one." "Haunted?" I asked, settling in for what was clearly going to be an interesting conversation. "I know how it sounds, but hear me out. The Wi-Fi keeps disconnecting at exactly 3:33 a.m. every night. When people try to reconnect, their device names automatically change to things like Help Me and TrapTien Router and Why Did You Forget Me Dave. And yesterday, someone's laptop started playing the Windows XP startup sound on repeat for 3 hours, even though it was running Windows 11 and wasn't even turned on." I paused, wondering if Destiny was pranking me or if I'd somehow stumbled into the tech support equivalent of a horror movie. "And you think this is supernatural?" Well, our office manager Googled the building's history, and apparently the previous tenant was an IT consulting firm that went out of business 5 years ago. Their head technician was a guy named Dave Morrison who reportedly lived and breathed technology and never took a day off. He had a heart attack right here in the server room, and they say he was found clutching an Ethernet cable. I made a note to myself to start taking more vacation days. "The other weird thing," Destiny continued, "is that only certain people are affected. It's like the ghost or whatever is targeting specific employees. Jennifer from accounting can't connect to Wi-Fi at all anymore. Her laptop just displays a message that says Jennifer owes Dave money whenever she tries to join the network." This was getting better by the minute. Did Jennifer actually owe Dave money? "That's the creepy part. She says she hired Dave's company to fix her home computer about 6 months before he died, and she never paid the final invoice because they went out of business before she could send the check." I had to admit that was either an incredible coincidence or the most petty ghost in IT history. "Look, Destiny, I can come take a look this afternoon, but I should warn you, in my experience, most haunted technology just needs a good firmware update and maybe an exorcism of the accumulated dust bunnies." "Oh, we already tried an exorcism. Father Martinez from St. Catherine's came by yesterday and blessed the router. But I think he made it worse. Now the Wi-Fi password keeps changing itself to Latin phrases." An hour later, I was standing in the lobby of Meridian Marketing, toolkit in hand, wondering what I'd got myself into. The receptionist, a young woman with purple hair and approximately 17 visible piercings, greeted me with obvious relief. "Thank God you're here. I'm Sierra, and I think the ghost is getting stronger." This morning, the printer started printing out what looks like a resume, but all the text is backwards. And at the bottom it says Dave Morrison still available for consulting. She handed me a piece of paper that was indeed a backwards resume for one Dave Morrison, complete with contact information for the afterlife and a list of skills that included posthumous network administration and spectral system analysis. "Has anyone tried actually responding to Dave?" I asked, studying the backwards resume. "What do you mean?" "Well, if this is really a ghost, maybe he's just trying to communicate. Have you tried talking to him?" Sierra stared at me like I'd suggested we sacrifice a goat to the router gods. "You want us to have a conversation with a dead IT guy? Stranger things have happened in this job." As Sierra led me to the server room, I noticed other employees clustered around their computers, all looking frustrated and slightly unnerved. One guy was frantically typing on a laptop that appeared to be autocorrecting everything he wrote to rhyme with Dave. "That's Marcus from Creative," Sierra explained. "He's been trying to write a presentation for 3 hours, but everything comes out as poetry about how Dave deserves recognition for his years of service." The server room was in the basement, a cramped space that had clearly been converted from a storage closet. The air was thick with the smell of dust and desperation, and the router setup looked like it had been assembled by someone who learned networking from YouTube videos and fever dreams. "This is where they found him," Sierra whispered, pointing to a corner where someone had placed a small memorial, a printed photo of a middle-aged man in a polo shirt, surrounded by various cables and a wilted succulent. I knelt down to examine the network equipment and immediately saw the problem. The main router was an ancient Linksys model that probably predated the invention of Wi-Fi security. It was held together with electrical tape and what appeared to be pure spite, and someone had written "Dave's baby" on the side in permanent marker. "Who set up this network originally?" I asked. "That would be Dave. He installed everything himself about 6 years ago, right before I started running diagnostics, and the results were about what I'd expected. The firmware hadn't been updated since 2019. The security protocols were so outdated that a toddler with a smartphone could probably hack in, and the whole system was running on hopes, dreams, and the technological equivalent of duct tape. But here's where it got interesting. Buried in the router's configuration files, I found something that made me laugh out loud. Dave Morrison, it turned out, had been a bit of a prankster. He'd programmed a series of automated scripts that would activate under specific conditions, like when the building's electrical system fluctuated at night, which happened predictably at 3:33 a.m. due to the old wiring, or when certain MAC addresses tried to connect to the network. Dave had essentially booby-trapped his own network installation. "Sierra," I called out, "I need you to gather everyone who's been having Wi-Fi problems. I think I know what's going on." 20 minutes later, I was standing in front of the entire Meridian marketing staff, feeling like a tech support detective about to reveal the solution to a cyber mystery. "Good news," I announced, "your building isn't haunted. Bad news, your previous IT guy was apparently a genius with a twisted sense of humor who programmed your network to mess with you from beyond the grave." I explained how Dave had set up elaborate pranks that would trigger based on network activity, time of day, and even specific employee behavior patterns. The backwards resume, an automated script that activated when the printer sat idle for more than 24 hours. The device name changes, a program that monitored connection attempts and responded with pre-written messages. The Latin Wi-Fi passwords, a rotating list that Dave had apparently compiled during what must have been a very boring afternoon. "But why would he do this?" asked Jennifer from accounting, who was still getting the "Jennifer owes Dave money" message. "Because," I said, pulling up Dave's configuration notes, according to his comments in the code, he was planning to reveal the pranks at the company Christmas party as a way to demonstrate security vulnerabilities and the importance of regular system updates. Unfortunately, he never got the chance. The room fell silent as everyone processed this information. Dave Morrison hadn't been a vengeful ghost, he'd been a dedicated IT professional trying to teach his clients about network security through elaborate practical jokes. "So what do we do now?" asked Destiny. "Well, we could disable all of Dave's pranks and update everything to modern standards," I said. Or, I paused, looking around the room at their expectant faces. "We could leave some of them running as a tribute to Dave's creativity. Think of it as the world's most elaborate memorial screensaver." The vote was unanimous. They wanted to keep Dave's digital legacy alive. So I spent the next 4 hours carefully sorting through Dave's pranks, disabling the genuinely annoying ones while preserving the harmless but amusing ones. The 3:33 a.m. disconnection was retired, but the backwards resume would continue to print once a month. Jennifer's debt message was changed to "Jennifer, Dave says hi and thanks for finally paying," and the Latin passwords were replaced with tech puns that Dave had apparently been collecting for years. The best discovery was Dave's crown jewel, a hidden network called Dave's Backup Plan that only appeared when someone searched for Wi-Fi networks while standing in the exact spot where his memorial was located. The password was "Remember the IT guy," and connecting to it would display a message that read, "If you're seeing this, it means I'm gone, but the network lives on. Please keep my routers dust-free and my cables organized. Dave Morrison, Eternal Network Administrator." As I packed up my equipment, Sierra approached me with a grin. We've decided to hire your company as our permanent IT support. Anyone who can solve a ghost problem with firmware updates is exactly the kind of tech wizard we need. Just promise me you'll actually install the security updates I'm recommending, I said. I don't want to come back in 5 years to find that my ghost is pranking your employees. Deal, but if you die in our server room, we're definitely keeping whatever digital booby traps you leave behind. Fair enough. The Meridian marketing haunting became legendary in our office. We now use it as a cautionary tale about the importance of documentation and succession planning, and as an example of how a good IT professional's work can live on long after they're gone. Dave Morrison may have left this world, but his network pranks achieved a kind of immortality. And honestly, there are worse ways to be remembered than as the IT guy who made people smile, even from beyond the grave. The moral of the story: always read the fine print in your network configuration, and maybe check if your IT guy has a sense of humor before you assume your Wi-Fi is possessed. Also, pay your IT invoices on time. You never know when that might come back to haunt you.